These places have always been important to me. Being amongst Scotland's mountains quietens the hustle of everyday life, the trivial white noise, the challenges of work, the daily chatter of social media. All that stuff fades away the deeper I ride into these magnificent glens. I always thought I'd do this forever, bothy missions and bivvy exploits. I still hope to, of course, but there's no guarantees. Nothing can be taken for granted, and that's a good state of mind to get to. The desire, the hunger, the need is more important than ever. It's just the getting here that's a bit trickier these days. I guess we all like to think we're bulletproof, that nothing's going to change the way we live and how we do the things we love. Since that day, being here in these wild, rugged spaces is more of a need than ever before. This menace won't beat me. It takes me a while longer. I maybe have to stop more often, plan a different route, but the peace I get, the laughter and the memories I share make me determined to steady myself and follow this path. This is a disease in which central nervous system damage results in compromised electrical conduction in the nerves. The lack of or poor nerve signals can result in minor annoyances or total disability. These symptoms include altered sensations, impaired vision, loss of muscle coordination, incontinence and cognitive problems in thinking and memory, just to name a few. The disease course is variable and unpredictable, usually starting slowly with periodic eruptions between apparent times of normalcy before progressing to being fully active with permanent, often debilitating symptoms. As a result, more than 3/4 of the people affected have some disability or limitation, and 1/4 become wheelchair bound. My name's Andy McKenna. I have multiple sclerosis and have had this challenge in my life since 2007. It's a peculiar space to inhabit. Sometimes you look at news reports talking about people with incurable diseases and afflictions, and you think, oh my God, poor sod. I really wouldn't want that to be me. And then you go, oh, well, that is me. And that can stop you in your tracks and put the fear into you. But I guess if you dwell on that uncertainty and that fear for too long, it creates inertia and you stop moving forward. I am a career mountain biker, I guess. I've been riding mountain bikes since the mid-80s. I started a tour business back in 2008, turning a hobby, a passion, into your life. I suppose that's a bit of a dream. And the job I used to do was far from a dream. I was head of marketing for a university department in Glasgow. Suit, shirt, tie, lying to myself every day. And I had the opportunity to give all that up, and bizarrely, that kind of came at exactly the same time as this diagnosis of this apparently incurable disease. And I suppose if you were a sensible human being, you probably wouldn't have thrown yourself into setting up a new business. But I guess I'm not that sensible at it. It seemed like a fantastic opportunity to throw away a career that was never really me and do something that was.
As a husband, you know, I think Andy's, Andy's a bit of a pain in the arse. He's my soulmate, and I absolutely love the time that I spent with him. You know, we ride together, and we've been riding together for like 20 years. And we love going out into the hills and doing the things we love. And I'm very lucky to have him, and he's very lucky to have me. In his bad days, it's tough because he might not be able to function well, he might not be able to get out of bed. I've got to get on with my life, and I don't want to do that because I would rather he was, you know, being looked after. But the reality is, and as part of everyday life, I can't do that. It's tough, him having the bad days, but he's very resilient and he's strong, and he doesn't let it get in the way of his life. The first few years of having it, it's been very subtle, and I would say he's coming up now for his 10th year, and it's only been in the last 2 years where there's been an acceptance from both of us that he's actually got MS. And for that reason, I can see when his symptoms come on. I think before I just ignored it. So yeah, we only started to sort of recognise what was going on with him over the last few years. The only reason for that is because things have got worse. Yeah.
Welcome to day one of Get Started. So let's start by coming into this moment, however you are. Take a moment to establish yourself as best you can in a posture that embodies dignity.
I'm Chris Ball, and I known Andy for a long time. I think we just worked out about 9 years. First met him, I think we just remembered it might have been a near-death experience on Loch Marie. Actually, that Cairngorms trip was pretty good as well, because that was some longer days, wasn't it? The weather was horrendous. I can't take it anymore. This big ride trying to find this kind of linking bits and pieces for this loop Andy had wanted to do around Larry Grew Way, and it had absolutely lashed down with rain all day. We'd been in the emergency bothy for tea and lunch, and it was just one of those non-stop, everything's wet, and we got stuck on the wrong side of this river that was really in flood, and it was definitely crossable, but it was getting deeper, you know, and we had to cross it because we were on the wrong side of the blooming thing. And Andy was really quite timid, but we'd been out for so many hours by that point, it didn't seem like it made much sense, you know. So we'd spent ages going down the bank of this river until we found a spot that didn't look much better than other spots we'd seen further up. I crossed it on my own with my bike and then went back and took his bike across. And again, it sort of, at the time I was like, why am I doing this crossing 2 or 3 times and carrying his stuff? Turns out because his legs weren't great. It's just kind of one of those fleeting things at the time. It was a bit, And I actually think Andy was holding on to my back. And then you fell in.
Frustratingly, multiple sclerosis is the enemy of mountain biking. It screws with your balance, vertigo, your vision, your brain, your ability to think, process, react, your grip. My grip has almost gone on my right side. I have to look at my feet to see where my foot is on the pedal. I have to look at my right hand to see where it is on the handlebars, to see whether or not I've trapped my fingers behind the brake lever because I can't feel them some of the time. And so that means that riding mountain bikes is really stressful. It's really exciting, terrifying, dangerous. I can't trust my balance, so I don't know when things will give way. Climbing hills spikes my core temperature. Heat is the enemy of MS.
I think the heat really brings out his symptoms. That was something that's really noticeable. Certainly when it does get a bit hotter here, it just really brings out all the tremors. That's when I've really noticed it. It's not ideal when you're riding down steep rocky slopes in Scotland. When he's on a down, it's to the point of where I've been on trips with him where he's struggling to get out of bed in the morning. His movements, his sort of tremors in his leg and his hands, he's really struggling just to function, getting changed, let alone get himself on the bike. So yeah, he really has to push himself through that. But he does, and that's one of the amazing things. He'll push himself through and come down with a big smile on his face for the clients in the morning, and they're absolutely none the wiser that he's just been lying on the floor for an hour up the stairs, absolutely dying. But then on the upside of it, when he's on and up, he's all there. He's back on his bike. He's flying. You can just see it. It's like you just see his face change, and the lights in his eyes are back on again, and he's back to his usual self where he's cracking jokes and he's just on top form. And he'll always say that I'm feeling really good, but it must be really tricky. That's one thing I find really must be so hard for him to deal with, is just never knowing when it's going to dip again.
I think everything's great again. I'm normal, and I want to take the lead. I want to be involved. I want to do the fun stuff. And one morning, I woke up and I fell over, and I lay there on the ground for 20 minutes. My legs wouldn't move. I couldn't get anyone on the phone. I thought this was it. This is the start of that slide. I'm going to be that guy with MS in a wheelchair. That was the moment when I decided that I was going to do everything I possibly could to stop this disease from taking over my life, Aneela's life, our life together. And I had a choice, and it'll be a choice that I might have to make again in the future. And the choice was to start a life of disease-modifying drugs with questionable side effects and uncertain benefits, or to find an alternative path.
He's always searching. He's always searching for what can be done to get rid of this disease, because the last thing he wants to do is go on the drugs. And that was the sort of final straw for him, I think, because just, last year the doctors had said it's time for you now to go on disease-modifying drugs. But he just doesn't believe in it. And he found all these amazing MS forums and all these people talking about overcoming MS through diet and through a healthy lifestyle.
It's a roller coaster. I started to learn lots and lots about diet and stress management and looking after yourself better, and I've never found it too easy to be someone that just does what they're told by experts. And I know that the drugs to manage MS have got all sorts of side effects and symptoms that may actually be worse than the disease itself. So I was anxious and desperate to find alternatives, and that's when we stumbled upon Dr. Swank and Dr. Jelinek and all the wonderful advice and information about living a cleaner life, a better diet, being more mindful. And to be honest, it was probably one of the biggest turning points in my life, my life with Aneela, to just embrace every moment.
Come down and sit beneath the vine. This is the last request I ask you ever grant of mine.
The diet that he's on, where he doesn't take saturated fat, no meat, very rich in fish. He takes flaxseed oil, omega-3, turmeric every day, and tries to manage it in that way so that he can enjoy the things that he does. But he's still trying, he's found CBD oil recently, and we had a great moment on the bike just the other day. He has a numb hand, and he's had a numb hand for years, and you can imagine if you ride a bike, that can be really hard to grip. And he just came off the hill and off after like a really fun descent, and he's like, oh my God, I could actually feel my fingers.
To get a glimmer of control, that was quite, because I kind of a bit half-hearted about my riding nowadays because it's pretty stressful. But that was nice. I just need to watch I don't overdo it.
Aye.
If this was all I needed to do was take CBD, this is just nuts.
Need to.
Well, let's just say if this is just the beginning of this, and I'm getting some feeling back in my hands, who knows what it's going to feel like in a short period of time.
And it was so nice just to see him, on a high.
I got some amazing results just from a few days trialling the CBD oil, the cannabis oil. I said this may not mean a huge amount to some, and I know relative to others living with the menace, I'm damn fortunate to still be as active as I am. But the first time in years I rode a bike with decent levels of control and commitment. In essence, I was in control of my bike versus just playing the odds, feeling kind of like Cinderella before the midnight bell tolls right now. Yaldi. And here's a friend. Ratty Bryce, so good bro, glad to hear it. Mary Jane. Are there any other benefits to having a strong right hand again? I think you've got to laugh about all of this stuff. If you lose your sense of humour when you get this kind of crap going on in your life, then you might as well chuck it. So Stoked on MS is my that's my Facebook page. It's pretty much where I come to rant, vent, share stories. It's a great outlet for Aneela and me. It's a great way to share stuff we've learned that's working. And I suppose where things are at now is probably the most limited in terms of ability, but it definitely feels as though I'm on the way out of this. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of it back again, and I'm going to be able to do more. I just have to watch I don't overreach too fast, because then I just end up on my back in bed for days. So I just need to be disciplined slowly, and it'll come back. It's coming back already.
Maybe people that haven't focused on the kind of negative or have hope, he's good for that, and can motivate and encourage people to think differently, no matter what your condition is like. But it's about having a positive outlook on life.
To go down the route he has, which is trying everything he possibly can through diet and health and lifestyle changes, absolutely to be applauded. It should be the way everybody goes. It's the way we should all be looking at treating as much as possible, I would say. I would love to think that's the way I would do it, but I don't know. You can see the effort and the challenges and the pitfalls that he's having to go through, and you think that's pretty tough, you know, when there's like this potential easy fix in this sort of reductionist little pill. I don't know. No, I think it's great. I'd love to say that's what I would do. I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure I have the courage, but you know, I'd like to think so.
This is the bizarre thing. It's like with him, like being able to embrace MS now, it's probably been a really good thing for both of us.
Wouldn't it be amazing to think that we could just live better, cleaner lives? And you know, I'm not looking for a cure. I'm just looking for some way to manage the symptoms so that I can live the life that I want to live. And I'm just about there.
Andy says that MS has made him a better human being. I'd say it's just made him less of a
Tales from the Body. It's Celtic Connections week here. It's lunch.
I'm fed up with chicken and fish.
How do you cope with it? Eating that stuff all the time?
I eat secretly when he's not there.
No, you do, yeah.